Welcome to the Raising Smart Kids podcast. I'm your host, Yang Pratt, and each week we'll explore ways in which the arts can help you raise a smarter kid. I'll be sharing ways the arts can propel your child's learning and interviewing top artists, educators, and entrepreneurs. These guests will share why the arts are so very important to your child, along with actionable ideas you can easily implement into your already busy schedule. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast here on iTunes and share us with a friend. For extra tips on raising smart kids, head on over to artsmartparenting.com and click on the Live tab. Welcome back to the show. I'm so glad to have you here on the podcast again with me today. And today we're celebrating another milestone. Today we have our first dual interview. That's right. Today I have two guests on the line, two lovely ladies who I'm so excited for you to hear their advice and their wisdom about kids and the arts. My first guest is Ann Colin. Now, Ann and I have known one another for a number of years as we surround ourselves with the same mentors and same like-minded studio owners from across the country. And I had the fortunate experience of staying with Ann for a couple of days, a couple of years ago now, when I went to go get my acro certification that was being hosted in her town. Now, Ann owns Danceworks and has two locations in Indiana. And her sister April Atherton, my second guest, is one of their most beloved teachers. The two of them have really created a wonderful community of supportive teachers, enthusiastic students, and very talented kids all around. So I'm so excited to have you here on this first dual interview. I hope you enjoy. So Ann and April, let's talk about your journey into the arts. You're both dancers, but I want to know how that path started for you and when.
I started dance and gymnastics when I was 2. Apparently, I took off walking really quickly in my developmental stage. And then all of a sudden, I started having some trouble. And the pediatrician recommended to my mom that she get me in dance or gymnastics. So she went out and put me in both. So that's how I got started in dance and gymnastics when I was a kid.
Yes, and I was just the little sibling that followed the footsteps, waiting in the lobby for older sister, and so then I got put in actually earlier, I think, than what they allowed at that time, just because I was around. They were like, sure, go take a class. So
excellent.
That's how I started.
Fun. And did you guys like the process of being in classes together and doing things together?
There's such a big age difference that we were never in the same classes. Okay. I think Ann might have assisted some of my classes early on, but we were never taking it at the same time.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So kids these days are busier than ever. Mom, and with your 4 kids, your kids are just going everywhere every day, right? And you're shuttling them back and forth.
Right.
Why are the arts classes so important today?
Well, I'm just going to use my daughter Hannah as an example. She has been dancing and since she was 2. She does voice now as well. She does theater and she does gymnastics. And what it has given her or brought to her is discipline, self-discipline, self-esteem. Confidence, which is self-esteem, but I think it can be a little different. When I say discipline, it's very interesting. She is so organized at her age of 10. I don't have to ask her to do homework. I don't have to check her homework. And when we come home in the evening, after I've been at the studio all day and all night teaching, I can go to bed and know when I wake up she has finished all of her homework, has all of her stuff ready for the day, and is going to be out the door and to school on time. And on time to her is 5 minutes early. If she is on time, she is late. So I think one of the biggest things for her is that discipline and self-motivation to be able to, at 10, take her day and have it planned. I don't even have to have her leotard for dance class. She puts it in her, or gymnastics. She puts it in her bag and has it ready to go. If for some reason she doesn't, she will say something to me before she walks out the door. Hey, I didn't get a leotard today. Do you mind grabbing me one? But 9 times out of 10, she has a spare in her backpack, so it doesn't even matter if I would have grabbed her one.
She's just ready to go all the time. It makes your job much easier.
Yes. So I just really think that helping her, it has helped so much with her staying on task, getting things done. And she's an amazing child because of being in the arts.
Yes, yeah, I would agree with all of that. Accountability is another good one, just because they know that they have their classmates and teammates or their theater group, whatever activity that they are in within the arts that is relying on them. And in order to stay in those extracurricular activities, they have to abide and get done all of their schoolwork and manage their grades and all of their schedules within their multiple different activities that they're involved in.
Yeah, so many great qualities to be learned from an arts classroom versus a traditional classroom. If you were to talk to a traditional classroom teacher, what little bit of advice might you tell them about incorporating the arts and why they need to have that in their classrooms?
It's funny that you asked. I actually just recently did a seminar with a college class of students that were learning to be teachers, and how drama and dance and creative movement needs to be brought into the classroom and the benefits of that. Within that, you can go to school for 6 or 7 hours a day as a child and sit there and listen to somebody, give you a lecture or teach you whatever, and then do your work. But all we're doing when you do that is teaching the child how to regurgitate what we have told them to memorize and remember. And what that is doing is taking the fun out of learning. And kids love to learn, and that's just how they are. They learn to talk, they learn to walk. It's from the moment they are born, they have this internal drive to learn new things. And if you don't do it in an environment where they can express themselves and they can get up and move around, we're actually wasting their time, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. That you need to have dance and drama in the classroom. It actually helps them become better critical thinkers than the different ways they're teaching math now. We're giving them, in the drama room, we're giving them different scenarios, and they're thinking on their feet on how to put together a commercial. And not only are they thinking on their feet to do that, they're also working as a team because they're in groups. They're not just sitting at a table regurgitating what we're telling them to memorize.
Awesome.
Definitely. Agree all of that.
Perfect. Well, and I love that you brought up the word critical thinking, because when I talk to parents a lot, that's not a word that they use a lot, but I think it's really valuable for them to understand what that means. We talk about critical thinking and problem solving, and how in an arts classroom, all the time they're being asked to assimilate the information, not to regurgitate it. Yes, while they're learning choreography, they're learning certain steps, but they're also understanding why A connects to B and why we make this happen. It's never just about the end product. It's that journey and all of those decisions they have to make to be part of that group or part of that dance or part of that classroom.
Or even the step that they're working on at that moment. Just to do a single turn, you have to understand X, Y, and Z. And just to even, let's just take the even beginning part of that, just balancing. The kids have to think critically, okay, I'm falling backwards. What does that mean? Where do I need to now change my weight. Oh, am I not supporting my abs? And so my core, okay, so let me try that. Oh, did that fix the problem? I didn't fall backwards now. Oh, awesome. I just figured it out myself. Nobody told me how to do that, but I thought critically about what worked and what didn't work, and now I'm able to do that step even better.
Right. And April, in your classes, how do you go about introducing that little piece of critical thinking and problem solving?
I mean, like, even making it a little bit fun of like question and answer, of like even just asking them, okay, why did I fall backwards? Why are you falling backwards? Getting them to understand themselves, of how to correct themselves by little mini quizzes here and there, whether or not they realize it. I ask them what a rond de jambe is. They say circling of the leg. They know it and they understand, and then they can understand what body parts. And I am very big on like the anatomy, so then they can understand their own body, of knowing this is the joint. This is a joint that moves circular. This is a joint that just bends and straightens, different movements and motions and muscle groups within their body. And that will help them understand the putting together the different movements that the dance is required, or that exercise.
Something else is just like understanding why. The why behind, especially in the ballet room. Why do you have to do tendus all of the time? What is the progression? I mean, like professional ballerinas, they still do pliés and tendus every single day. So it also helps with the why, putting the why behind why you're doing something repetitive or over and over again.
And if they understand the why, then they want to do it. They understand, why do I need these? Why do I need to know that 5 + 5 is 10? You know, why do I need to know how to make 15% of a check? Eventually in the real world, kids need to know those things, but the teachers sometimes don't assimilate those things within the real world, and they don't want to learn, where in the arts we make it understandable, and then they want to learn more, and then they keep growing within that.
Yeah, so that really speaks to how the arts really can help a child learn, no matter how they learn best, right? So if they learn kinesthetically, absolutely, they're doing a lot of that. But if they're a visual learner, they can actually learn so much just by watching. They don't have to always do it, but they can make those connections happen. If they love to learn conceptually, maybe they're really great at math and love that. You know, in a ballet class or in a music class, there's tons of math that's happening behind the scenes that we're not even seeing. It's just all these little processes happening. And I think for parents too, the bit about having their kids ask questions. You know, when our kids are growing up and they're 2 and 3 and 4 and learning to talk, they're always asking why. But somewhere along the way, probably about 6 or 7, the questions stop. And I think that's so interesting that we don't keep encouraging that as parents or teachers or society. We just want kids to learn, but we're not always willing to take those extra few seconds to ask them why something happened or why.
Well, and I think sometimes as a parent, you can get so busy in your day-to-day life that it seems bothersome sometimes for your child to ask why 100 times. And so sometimes us as parents, we have to remember not to shut down those whys ourselves at home. You know, let the kid ask. If it's not the right time, then say, can you hold on just a moment and let me finish this, and then I can help you? At my house, we do something that my son William has learned at school. He goes to a Montessori school, and he has lots of questions, and it can be very tiresome. Like, he wears me out and everyone asks questions. He's 6, and all he does is ask questions. But so he'll come up to me and just, if I'm busy or he starts to ask me a question and he notices he's not getting a response, and he'll just like put his hand on my shoulder and just stand there for a moment. And then I cognitively am aware, okay, William has a question. He's waiting patiently, standing here calmly. Let me finish what I'm doing, and then give him that attention that he needs to ask me his question or help him with whatever it is. But I mean, like, it's so important as a parent that we don't also shut down those whys, because I think that sometimes it can happen at home. Like, that's might be where it's starting. I mean, all of us are busy. We're doing the dishes. We're doing the laundry. We're helping this one with homework. And then you have your 2-year-old over here. Mommy, why is this? Why can't I go outside right now? You know, you just need to, if you stop and answer them, eventually they'll stop asking. Sometimes a good way to get them to stop is to ask them a question in return.
That's a great tip. And you had said, we're all busy, but having the awareness of having William just touch you to let you know that he's there and to remind you that he needs to be addressed and he needs his needs met as well. And then, just allowing him to ask questions and then asking a question in return to make a child think, wait, well, I don't know, let me think about that. To give them that space to problem solve, to critically think, and to come to a solution on their own without us having to always tell them or sometimes nagging them to get stuff done. They just understand or will come to understand that there's just a natural progression of things and this is how they can contribute. So I want to know, for both of you, I want to hear a story about a student you've had in your classes whose life was absolutely transformed by being part of what you do.
We have a student, Alyssa, and she is really intelligent, like very intelligent, but she's that child that can't stand still and maybe doesn't always do the steps, like actually demonstrate the steps correctly, but has like this vast knowledge of understanding what she did wrong, what she needs to do to fix it, and then can do it correctly if she stops and concentrates and really focuses on it. And I think that dance, it has helped her not only at dance, but in the classroom, at school, just understanding how to focus her energy and put it where it needs to be to accomplish whatever it is she needs to accomplish.
Yeah, using what she has learned throughout, the many years of dance to be able to utilize that side of her brain and the more creative side, because she is a very creative individual, sometimes a little too creative, but you don't ever want to like squelch that. However, there are times and places for that creativity to be able to be her outlet. And sometimes schoolwork was not the time to be the creative. She needed to get her work done, and she's been able to learn within dance of, this is not time for your improv right now. We need to do this correctly. So it has gotten her to realize there are time and places for using her creativity and shining through that. And other times when she does have to follow the rules in a dance classroom, we all have to be working on turns right now. We're not leaping. Different things like that has helped her along the way, I would say.
Yeah. And then there's always, any child that has any special needs. I had probably back in the first years of the studio, an epileptic child come through Danceworks. And I actually still get notes from her mother about how wonderful dance and Danceworks was with her and helping her, just function like a normal and just be a normal kid like everyone else. Not necessarily at school was she just like everyone else, but in the dance room, she was just a student, just like everyone else. She even competed on the stage like everyone else.
Wow.
And
we had a hard of hearing.
Yes,
that, was very minimal on her hearing, and every competition we have to make sure they knew to have that volume up, and she actually could just feel the vibrations of the speakers to then help her. And then she obviously had to use her eyesight to stay with her students. She knew what the dance was. However, timing sometimes was the more challenging thing for her to learn, but she was still able to manage around that to be able to compete and dance and, throughout her life.
Wow, those are really great stories. So here's a question that sometimes I get asked too. Parents, when they think they're enrolling their kid in a dance class, they tell me, well, they have no aspirations to become a dancer, or, that's not really their thing. But and I know that there's such value. What would you tell the parent who says, well, I don't want my kid to become a professional dancer, so I don't think dance class is a good choice for them? What would you tell them?
I would first say at the younger ages, it's the social interactions. When they're that like 2 and 3 year olds and they're the only kid at home, they don't know how to communicate with the other children, whether or not it's actually verbally or just interacting of, I have to take my turn. It's Susie's turn to go across the floor, not mine. I don't get the purple X because I didn't get there first. I might today have the orange X. I have to be able to be okay with that. And kids that don't have siblings or haven't been in the like preschool atmosphere or even a daycare for that matter, sometimes do not experience that unless it is through the arts. And they're just like stay at home, and if they don't get that, then it's harder for them to be able to have those social interactions and to know their time and place when it comes to actually taking a class and following directions, which they have to learn in school of, yes, there are times when I can speak, there are other times when I have to listen, as well as learning that there are times when you get to be the leader of the class and other times when you're new to that class and you are going to be the follower because you are learning these things for the first time, while there are other children in the class that are above you because this is their 3rd or 4th year in that level and they are mastering those skills where you are just being introduced to them.
Excellent. And Ann?
She pretty much stole them all. But, no, I think dance anyone can benefit from the youngest kid to the oldest adult. And to be quite honest, the vast majority of the kids that take dance, they're not going to be professional dancers or professional ballerinas. They're not going to be on Broadway. That's not really their calling. This is just an outlet for them. It's a friend of mine always says, the dance studio is a safe haven, and it's a place where they can walk in that door and leave all of their problems or troubles behind and know that they have a group of people that support them and love them and will be nothing but positive with them. And kids need that. They need a safe place where they can just go and have an outlet and just be a kid with everyone else. And dance or theater or music is 100% a safe place and a great place for your child to be. I always say at our studio, dance friends are best friends, and they truly are. They really, truly are. Those kids not only do dance together, but they go to the movies together. They go out to eat together. They spend the night at each other's house. And my own kids are part of that. And I feel more comfortable with them going and doing things with their dance friends than their friends at school. Because it is a safe place, and all of us moms, we want the same thing. We want that for our children.
Absolutely. On a previous podcast interview, I interviewed Clint Salter, and he used the word home. Dance was home for him. There was that comfort level, there was that acceptance, and that's exactly what you're saying. And I just love that everyone in this dance world or in this world of the arts has their own unique journey of how they got here. But at its core, we're all searching for that same thing, that place where we can feel we're the most ourselves we could ever be.
Right.
Fantastic. So before we wrap up with our final question, what is the best way for our listeners to get in contact with you if they have any more questions?
Well, you can always email the dance studio. It's danceworks.studio@att.net. And you can address the email to Ann or April, and either one of us would be glad to answer any questions that you would have.
Fantastic. And I'll be sure that all of your contact information just links directly to your site as well, and they can just reach out to you for any further questions they have. So before we say goodbye today, I want to know one last bit of information. We're here to help parents to raise smarter kids through the arts. What is one thing parents could do this week to incorporate the arts into their already busy lives?
I know in our area, or at least at our studio, we have a free event. It's called Storytime with a Twist. And the kids come in, we read a story, we do some movement activities. You could reach out to your local library. Most libraries have events similar to that. There are lots of, if you don't have the resources or the time to go do something like that, you can on the internet find lots of activities for your children. We just did a snow makeup day virtually with our kids. And for PE, they did this exercise video, and it was to the whip, and it was like the cutest thing ever. And so it was really neat to watch my kids. They were actually like dancing and then doing some jumping jacks and stuff. You can also look up lots of really neat ideas, crafty ideas on Pinterest, and use some stuff that you have at home, and paint with shaving cream or make Play-Doh. I know that's not a dance class, but that is art. That's just plain old art, and kids love that. Anytime they can get their hands into some paint or things like that. If it's snowing where you are, it's really neat to take some food dye out in the snow and let the kids create some interesting art pieces as well.
Yeah, and I'm a big movie buff myself, and so I would say even if there's not like local theaters for them to actually be immersed at, there's no show that week, they're on hiatus, etc. But even just renting an old classic, Singing in the Rain, My Fair Lady, anything that has like song and dance, it will get them immersed into it, and then they will gain a larger interest for wanting to get themselves within the arts, whether or not that's drama, music, dancing, any of those realms. They will become more motivated and inspired by watching some of the classics that kids nowadays, I mentioned, oh, this is from Mary Poppins, and they're like, I don't know what that is, and I'm like, oh dear, we need to, and I sometimes make it their homework. Okay, go watch a musical. And they'll do it, and it's very fun to find what they saw and what they thought about it, even especially when it was like an old classic song and dance musical, anything like that. It's fun to see what the younger generation thinks of what I consider just the classic movies I grew up on.
Right. And then, like, if you have a toddler at home, put on some music. You're doing the dishes, and let them help you. And before you know it, they're going to be singing and dancing while they're doing the dishes. And then they're going to want to do the dishes with you every day. And it's always nice to have help. So just put on some music and have fun.
Yeah, every mom's dream to have their kids help with the dishes, right?
Yes.
Even better if you can have tons of fun and create some lasting memories in the process.
Right. And you'd be shocked. They really like to help you with those chores.
Excellent. Well, April and Ann, I want to thank you so much for being here today. This was lots of fun for me to have my first double interview. So yay! One for the books for us. So thank you again for being here and sharing your information. I so appreciate you and all that you put out into the universe.
Yes. Thank you so much for having us both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to the Raising Smart Kids podcast. If you're enjoying this podcast, please share us with a friend and head on over to iTunes and leave us a review there and let us know you're enjoying the show. If you're looking for more tips on raising smart kids, head to Amazon.com and pick up a copy of my first book, Raising a Superhero: How to Unleash Your Child's 8 Superpowers and Propel Learning Through the Arts. Thanks for allowing me to be your guide on this parenting adventure, and I look forward to catching you next time.